Welcome to another episode. This is Bodhi Speaks, and I've been working on some really amazing stuff. Outstanding. If you work in the field of human behavior and human experience, then I know you know what I'm talking about. Every page that is flipped, every new study that is published, even information from a long time ago, all this stuff really just describes something that is almost beyond belief. And what I'm talking about is the human experience. And recently what I'm working on for you is this really beautiful course in trance, in altered states, and how to really what the basic technology is, and some really complex and elegant ways that you can take this technology and use it to create a life that you love in your own way. It's really giving you back the keys to your amazing engine, the human mind. But as an aside, today what I wanted to do is just share a quick side note to this text that I'm putting together for you. It's probably going to be released in a video course for you. Nonetheless, talking about what I've got for you today, I want to make one thing really clear. Now, people might use this statement to make me appear crazy, or to scandalize me, or to take a strong point and to say why they disagree with me, which is beautiful. It's great. Say things that matter to you. Say what you're truly convicted about. Stop yapping and just repeating things that you've heard. Or maybe you're hearing other people just repeat the same things, not really coming up with any original thought or adding anything to the conversation or to the narrative. But what I'm going to share with you here today it's really a simple concept, and by no means is it brand new. However, I think what I have to offer you, in fact, I know what I have to offer you in response to what I'm about to tell you, is so supremely empowering, is so magically motivating and moving. It materializes a brand new experience and outcome in your life. But it's only if you take into account the things that follow this statement here. And it's simply this. It's that chances are 98% of the people, 99% of the people, actually, I know I've got a smart audience, so I'm going to say 96% of the people that are listening to this, you are asleep. You are asleep. You're hypnotized by a mind virus. And this mind virus, it turns gods into addicts and slaves. It's a mind virus that's been going around for a long time. In fact, society is pretty sick with it. And I'm not talking about one of the most newly developed variants of disease that's being reported today. In fact, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Headlines and advertisements. But we're not there yet. What we're talking about is that you're asleep and you're hypnotized by a mind virus, that it turns gods into addicts and slaves. And you say, well, Bodhi, I'm not a god. And what does that mean? That's outrageous. Turns gods into addicts and slaves. No such thing could exist. Well, let's proceed with a riddle. Could an all-powerful being with no limitation to their power create a rock so heavy that being couldn't lift it? Create something that couldn't be altered, couldn't be moved, that couldn't be acted upon? Let's simplify it. Could God make a rock so heavy that God couldn't move that rock? Could the illimitable limit itself? So today what I want to talk to you about is three ways. I'm not even going to give you all the tools and the bottom line stuff of trance and technology, or the technologies of trance. Now, what I'm telling you about today is what underlies the technology. What I'm telling you about today are the forces and the very powers that give any type of trance, any type of thought, any type of idea, plans, schemes, schematics, blueprints. I'm telling you the juicy stuff that makes all of that stuff work. It's three things: imagination, attention, and concentration. Okay? We're going to start with imagination. Now, one thing that I need you to understand, if you're going to be able to use this information in a way that empowers your life, I need you to understand that imagination is your most powerful tool. It's a tool. It's your most powerful tool. Not just Einstein, not just Newton, not just that person with the street smarts, not just that person that reads 1,000 books a week, not just that person who daydreams all day, not just that person who's figuring out physics and building some of the largest experiments on the planet in history, but your imagination is your most powerful tool. And if you don't know how to use it, it can hurt you like fire or a vehicle. Now, it's very, very useful. In fact, it's your most useful, most powerful tool. And you'll understand why more in just a second. But you've got to have this reverence and understanding of what it is that you are truly designing your life by, choosing your life by. If you can't imagine, if you can't image and self-see certain choices that are before you, you'll be blind to them and ignorant, and you'll never choose it. Or imagination. I forget who it is. It might have been Ezra Pound. But somebody said that genius is, it's not just the ability to see like all sorts of things. It's the ability to see many things in one thing. It's the ability to tease out the secrets of all that exists and what's beyond our knowledge of existence. I'll continue. If you're not understanding how excited and how blown away the awe-inspiring power of imagination, you should be picking up on that. It is your most powerful tool. It is the crown gem of our species. If it's associated with the third eye, ajna, which means to command, this is how you command yourself in reality. It's your original tool, and from it every other tool has been created. When something is jammed and you need to move something, or you need to lift something, or things are blowing on your table and all you've got is your phone, not a paperweight, and you put it, how you use your imagination, it decides, it assigns power and ability. It's representation. I could go on about imagination for hours, but what you need to understand right now is it's your primary informant to your will. Meaning you make your choices based on what you imagine. You literally do because you see that it can be. When patients are connected to machines that can read your vital signs, that can read the different thresholds of blood flow and electricity moving through the body, oxygen levels in the body, you can tell just before an action is taken, before I go to pick up a cup, or even if I just imagine picking up a cup, there's information that goes to my arm, to the very muscles that would pick up the cup, that come from the imagination, that come from what is seen in the mind. why is this important? It's because your imagination represents reality, possibility, and fantasy. The images in your mind are how you connect and predict. And all these things that you represent with your imagination, all of it, every last bit of it, is relative to your experience, to your needs, and to your desires. And so if you don't have control of your imagination, or if someone else does, now this isn't just make-believe stuff. This isn't just sitting somewhere and daydreaming. Your imagination is very active. It's active in everything that you do. Everything that bridges into your conscious awareness is represented by your imagination. Emotions, when they become aware, are associated with images, ideas, memories, and expectations that are generated in your imagination. The richness and quality of the things that you see in your mind, of the statements that you make. Self-talk is fueled by your imagination. Athletes know the power of self-talk and self-visualization. High performers know the value of self-talk and visualization. People who go into incredible flow states know the power of imagination, of getting certain self-talk out of the way and envisioning the best that can possibly happen. Your imagination, the things that you see in your head, have so much to do with your self-image, and your self-image is really the master key to all potential in your life. It is literally the bridge to you and what you do, who you be. And if you don't master your imagination, the thing of it is, any fool can enslave you with it. All right. So what I want you to do is to imagine a world where you, yourself, and all people, everyone, is a master of their own mind. Where they're unashamed of their unique creative differences. Because there's a reason that your imagination is being used against you to keep you in the sleep, hypnotized in the God-killing addiction and slavery. Not only do you use it to self-reject your own genius, but you've been trained and conditioned like the 98%, the 99%, the 94%, the majority of people who've also been programmed and conditioned to pull down others whose imagination is too wild, whose genius is too brilliant, whose thinking is so unreasonable. The people who are asleep, the addicts and slaves, use their imagination in a perverse way, like society has done with most of our most powerful gifts. It causes us to reject them at their full expression, and then sells it back to us in the form of little dreams or little exposures, permission-based, authorized by a nanny state. Your imagination, your playfulness, your sexuality, your appetite, all of these things regulated by the hypnotizer of conformity, society, and playing small, keeping the giants of genius asleep. But I want you to imagine a world, a new world, where as you wake up and you wake up your neighbors, that we will all see a world where people are masters of their own mind, unashamed of their own creative, unique differences. That's what I'll say about imagination today. It is your most powerful tool. Don't let it be used against you. The images that flash across your mind, whether through text, whether through things you've heard, things that you see on your screen, things that you've seen in the past, or things that you've been trained to expect. You should know that imagination is your most powerful tool, and how you learn to wield it will determine the type of reality that you manifest. That's imagination. Now next, you know what your most powerful tool is now. Your most valuable currency is not the cash, is not the credit, it's not even the social currency that's gained through being cool. Your most powerful attention. Your most powerful, most valuable currency is your attention. Your attention. Now, when you look up the etymology of this word, it's delicious because it hints at the existential function of being, which indicates that we are not an island all alone, but that we extend our essence in order to know more and grow more, in order to integrate, in order to continue to be. This is evolution. This is adaptation. But much closer to the point here, attention is your most valuable currency because it adds exponential value wherever you place it. Wherever you place it. When you're walking down the dark alley and you hear the thing over there, how your attention directs all of your resources, all of your muscle fibers, all of your oxygen, all of your neurons, everything. It calls to action. It says that there is more important than any of the other things that don't have your attention. Additionally, when you give attention to a person, when you genuinely care and you attend to them as an individual, as a human, it adds exponential value to their experience. There's an exchange that is incalculable and impossible to fully measure because its influence goes on and on. Attention, when applied to a math problem, when applied to an unknown, attention, when applied to anything, increases the value of it by directing a miracle load of resources within your body and mind. Think of this about creating solutions and understanding, of course, the power of multiple people's attention. Huge. Almost out of this world. Now, attention adds value, exponential value, wherever it's placed, and it also compounds interest. Think about what Einstein said about compounding interest. He said it's the most powerful force in the universe. So a word of caution when we discuss the dangers of AI, or when we discuss the qualities of addiction, or whatever it is. Let us be certain that how we frame our problems is going to inform the types of solutions that we're able to see. It's unfortunate in many countries that I'm aware of, civilized countries, the youth are not taught financial education, and therefore the majority who do not come from wealthy or well-educated financial backgrounds, meaning families, people who don't come from well-off families tend to carry on the same patterns and cycles that are lumped in with not knowing how to handle your money. And if you don't know how to handle your attention, which is far more powerful than money, think about it. Money goes where attention is first. But if you don't know how to master your attention, then you'll spend it in a way that will not give you credit or build positive value, but will build debt and will take away and rob you. Be mindful that the engineers of attention, those who manufacture your consent by hijacking your imagination, by holding your attention, seizing your attention, distracting you, always at every turn. Those who do that, they know what they're doing and they do it well. And think of all the value that they're siphoning just by grabbing your attention. Think of all the value that could be applied to you, O genius, O awakening giant. When you turn in that attention towards yourself, towards your sovereignty, towards your solutions, towards your passions that have been with you from the very beginning, proclivities and desires and appetites that are purely yours and yours alone, that few others might relate to, but nobody has quite like you. Imagine if Nikola Tesla were conditioned the way the majority is, if that giant had never been awake. Tesla was no better than you or I, but he was a peer, a god amongst gods. Only he was awake while the majority sleep. Pay attention. Your attention is what assigns conscious value in this feedback loop of your state and behavior. Okay? So if your attention is guided by fear, then what you're able to pay attention to is going to narrow. Neurologically, psychologically, even physically, there is a constriction, there is a shrinking down of possibility, of flexibility. It's a brain-body experience. And when your brain-body experience, your attention is being directed by love, you're in a state of love with openness, you are then actively evolving in your psychological being. This is the essence of adaptation. Adaptation is growth. Adaptation is how you get better, how you increase your odds of overcoming adversity from whichever angle. Pay attention to how you can begin to overcome adversity beginning from within, and it's how you invest your attention. Will you remain conditioned for chronic anxiety? Or will you choose to graduate from exhilaration to exhilaration? And then finally, the last point I'll leave with you, now that you know imagination is your most powerful tool and attention is your most valuable currency, I want you to understand that concentration, this is your superpower. This is how you take your natural born gifts. This is where you first decide to up level. This is the realm of the alchemist, and all human beings are artists. We are all magicians. It is only those who are asleep who think they do not have the creative spark within. This doesn't mean that what you do should look or be anything like anyone else's. This isn't a matter of whether you can paint as well as someone else. This has nothing to do with whether you can figure out mathematical equations or not. When you get out of your own way, when you remove the hypnotic spell of mediocrity and fear, of playing small and conformity, when you remove all that, when you stop using your superpower against you and you concentrate on the richness, the creative vibrancy and vitality that is ever present in every moment with you, as you concentrate, you change the channel. You change the frequency. You increase the probability of precisely that which you concentrate on. This is the magic. This is the gift. This is the work. And when done correctly, it is also the beautiful play. What you retain and what you communicate, that's what tends to become your experience. The things that you hold on to, that you encounter in life, and the things that you communicate, whether through your speech, your body language, your expectations, that's what tends to become your experience. That's what tends to become your reality. The things that you forget about or you don't hold on to, and the things that you don't communicate, that don't have voice or don't have presence in your feedback loops, in your states, in your systems, those things don't become a part of your experience. So what things in your life on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a moment-by-moment basis stick with you, are communicated by you? Because these are the things that you're going to get more of. And one thing that you ought to be aware of, in order to wake up from the mass hypnosis, is to understand what the source of that hypnosis is. And the majority of it, the hook that keeps one on the line, the majority of it is headlines and advertisements. And these are big broadcasts, mass media. It's a net of spells. And they are designed specifically. I went to art school. I've been studying influence my entire life. I was in film, videography, from newsrooms to Hollywood productions. I understand the inner workings of what it is to create media and why. And I can tell you this, it's designed to keep the audience in a specific type of state to react. And one of the main symptoms of the headlines and advertisements, of the industrial schooling, and the generations of domestication where parents don't know any better, the main symptom that we see is a stifling of the human spirit, an avalanche of bullshit and noise, attempting to bury the voice of individual genius in a world that needs it so much. The headlines and the advertisements of the mass media are designed to specifically mold your imagination so it can manage your self-image, which will regulate your emotional sequences, and these sequences are what mobilize your behavior. The majority of the media these days is exploiting you for commercial and political reasons. This keeps us asleep because it's not all that painful, because they make it pretty damn delicious, and this is why it's called entertainment. Entertain means to entrain. Entrain means to keep in lockstep with something. To be in sync with the status quo requires less energy than having your own frequency. If you take a bunch of metronomes and you put them on a table and you set them all at different times, because of the law of thermodynamics, they're all going to synchronize and get to the same beat because they share the same medium, and none of them is so brilliant as a single human being who can make their own choice and initiate a vast range of changes from a single point in time and space. But you can, and you do, and you will. Will it be because you were triggered by your limbic system, or will it be because you've made a choice? A conscious, creative choice. In addition to molding your imagination, they've also been designed to hold your attention. And of course, you know at this point that your attention is a limited resource. You've only got so much. You can't put it on every single thing at once. It's more of a spotlight than it is a floodlight. And so if these things designed to hold your attention through the mass media in order to inform your self-image, in order to make you do certain things that have specific commercial and political outcomes, if it's holding your attention, then it reduces your power to create your own solutions. Something I call insight to empowerment. Because nothing is so rich, so gorgeous, so powerful, so beautiful as bringing your own inner genius to light. Discovering the unique and most powerful ways to influence your own experience, to solve your own problems, to create brand new solutions. And not only for yourself, but for those that you love, for the topics and fields of interest that are important to you. When you come into this holistic place of self-acceptance rather than the self-rejection, that is a symptom of the hypnosis that kills gods and makes addicts and slaves of perfectly beautiful, capable human beings. Unless you get out of that hypnosis, insight to empowerment will evade you. About concentration being your superpower, you should understand how it works, and that is repetition is reinforcement. This is how meditation creates the path of least resistance. This is why monks have enlightened executive function. Now, a certain neurosurgeon was talking to the Dalai Lama one day, and they were talking about, can't this stuff be used for Can't we use the science to understand other mysteries of the mind? And so eventually a bunch of monks got inside the brain imaging machine. And what we see to this day, is that the executive function of monks is highly attuned. It is healthy and rich because it utilizes the very same routes in the mind. Meditation uses the same routes and strengthens the same routes that are responsible for all of your executive function, your ability to manage different information, your ability to hold attention and switch it where it's necessary, your ability to manage stress despite the level of incoming information. There's a number of things that an increased executive function does for you, and I guess in one word, how I describe it is it makes you more of a badass. When you have high executive function, you realize that mastering yourself is 1,000,000,000 gajillion times better than mastering others. When you master yourself, you recognize there is no need to master the world, because as you learn to master yourself, you're already there. Executive function is the difference between having an ordered mind and a chaotic mind. The difference between being asleep on autopilot, going from chronic anxiety to chronic anxiety, and the difference between having an ordered mind, making creative choices, choosing to go from exhilaration to exhilaration, evolution to adaptation. That's concentration. What you repeat, you get more of, in your imagination and with your attention. So here's a few things that I want to leave you with really quick. And that is, all that is good, meditate on that. And if you say, oh, Bodhi, I can't meditate, I say, yes, you do. You do it all the time. It's just now, instead of letting your monkey mind hop from thing to thing based on emotional flights and fancies, you can choose. One great practice for this is gratitude. Take a moment to think of something that if it weren't in your life, you'd really miss it. And then, because it is in your life, take a moment and just be really grateful and think of how it affects the quality of your life and how it really makes you feel good. Anything that's good, meditate on it. Buddha said that you are your thoughts. In order to get away from this programming that makes you play small, that which is on autopilot all the time, you've got to understand it's not okay to be well adjusted in a sick society. That's precisely what it means when you hear the phrase, your comfort zone will kill you. Because being a frog in the pot getting slowly turned up ain't so bad in the midst of it. It feels tolerable. But when you understand that complacency that leads to all sorts of addictions and frustrations and escapisms and exhaustion, you only think that it's comfortable. Your comfort zone is not comfortable. It's a coping mechanism to escape from the reality that you've been suffocating the real you your entire life, but it's not your fault. and neither is it the fault of society. It's not so much a matter of fault as it is a matter of, here we are, what do we know, what do we do next? Well, what do you want? What do you need? When you let out your most beautiful, creative, living self, that's what the world needs. The world needs more people like you who've truly come to life, who've stopped playing by the script, who've stopped being ruled by fear of the Smiths in the Matrix, who've stopped capitulating to the pressure of the illusion of Maya. Now, that's not to say that these things are not real. It's your experience. It's real. And that's not for anyone to determine for you. You must decide. You assign the value based on the attention you give it, your relationship with it, based on how it's represented in your imagination, and in the reality of your continuance of being, your homeostasis. The Gnostic Jesus said something like this. He said that there's something within you that if you let it out, it will save you, but if you keep it in, it will destroy you. This is your genius. This is your vitality. When you don't answer your call, your shadow, which is not evil, it's only a balanced response, your shadow will act out more and more to capture more and more of your conscious experience until finally, hopefully, you awaken. If you find that you're running into the same problems in your life, in your business, in your relationships, if you find that you're at a plateau and you know you should be going further, rising higher, ascending your ladder of life, but you feel stuck or you don't know what to do next, chances are you need to get the fuck out of your own way. Learn to trust your channel again. Learn to be a channel and trust your source, your true source. Not the voice of some person on your screen. Not the news coming down the pathway. But to trust the source that exists in you, speaks and moves to you, through you, and in you, for you, in all that matters in your life. In order to do that, you've got to awaken from the hypnotic spell. You've got to renounce guilt and shame, two of the most worthless emotions ever foisted upon people. Renounce guilt and shame. There are better ways to process things that are not in agreement with you, or to bring resolution to things that other people don't feel resolved with you about. There's better, more resourceful, more creative ways, but guilt and shame have got to go. And you've got to embrace play and change. This stodgy ego characteristic has really been built in to the adults of society, making people grow up to be very work-based. Work having this idea that is void of spirit, very mechanical. Work based on keeping things within a very specific range, creating a stability which makes an enemy of change. Well, the realm of genius, your inner genius, is amplified, is brought to life through play and the embracing of change, the allowance, the expectation, the openness to different. And then finally, you've got to become a pure channel and trust your source of genius to awaken from this hypnotic spell. It's the only thing that will keep it away. There's no reason to disconnect from the world. In fact, you can't. Not in a way that is healthy or meaningful to adaptive growth. But you can shift, modify, enhance your relationship to your own experience and to the world by learning to become a master of your own mind, by learning how to wield the tool of your imagination, how to direct the value of your attention, and then of course learning the myriad of ways to concentrate your forces. The absolute power and mystery of words, incantations, thoughts, repetition, trance, magic, imagination, fantasy, attention, speeches. All of these things have been occulted and hidden from the masses for a very, very, very long time. And so what we have are masses of sleeping giants blundering about in the dark. It is peculiar to see such powerful beings stumbling about, so incapacitated. This is about learning to choose and how to control altered states, how to control your awareness. It's much better than being an unconscious slave to the altered states that every human is subject to. So this is what I want you to do. Straighten your crown. That's right. Straighten your crown and envision yourself in control of your imagination. That's right. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. Imagine choosing to create your life. That's right. At every moment, every step, every crisis, you can imagine yourself choosing to create your life instead of letting those old programs capitulate to fear and mediocrity. All right? Next, what I want you to do is to get frugal with your attention. And that means you only invest it where it deserves to be, because not everything deserves your attention. Okay, your attention is powerful, it is valuable. Imagine that anything that you are giving your attention to, your attention is going to bring you more of that into your experience. You will get more of what you give your attention. But don't be stupid, okay? Ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. Shifting focus on solutions, now that changes everything. Would you rather sit and gripe about a flat tire? Or would you rather focus on the resources that you have to get back on the road? This is the difference. This is the magic. This is the guiding, directing power, the creative power of your attention. And now, the more meaningful that you make something, the more it's going to matter. And how do you know you're making something meaningful? Well, when you increase its gravity, you increase the probability. When you increase the reach, the impact, and the power of a thing, it means it's because you're concentrating on it. You're increasing it by concentrating on it. More of the finer stuff comes through. More of the grander aspect is present. Okay? Trance technology is an advanced methodology, and it takes the basic elements of your human power to create experiences and influence realities with the freedom and the ecstasy of the creative, of the gods. My sole mission is the renaissance of the human spirit. Now, I'm not here to tear down, but I've come to build up and fan the dying ember of the stars within my peers so that we can dance long into the night of ecstasy in the inferno of nature's living flame. That's right. I celebrate this life despite all of the challenges and difficulties. It is like the ocean, it is like a fine Siberian tiger, all at once beautiful and fierce. This life is awe-inspiring, and the spark of creativity which is within you and I and every human being who's ever lived, who is living now, and ever will. I celebrate and call to all of you awakening giants and those who are already awake to help me show the world that each person can trust in their internal source of inspiration and insight, and this will be a boon to the world. As you learn to surrender the small shell of yourself and to vote your whole being to the true you that you've been too afraid to know, when you authorize yourself to live the life that your dreams have revealed to you, that nobody understands quite like you, when you get out of your own way, you become a pure channel and trust your source. As you do these things, I know my work is being done. Thanks so much for joining me on another episode of Bodhi Speaks. We are going to be diving deep continually. You know who you are. You know who I am. You know this world needs you. Join me.